Hello, denizens. You wanted a former network executive reaction to Netflix's Cowboy Bebop, and you's got it. Yes, it was a failure. But I won't be reviewing the show posthumously because I'm determined to not make this a review channel. Lots of those out there already. But as I've done before, I'm going to put my executive in charge of production hat on and tell you what I would have told the creative people behind the live-action Cowboy Bebop. But first, let me do some housekeeping regarding a previous post where I mentioned a bit too glibly that Hollywood hates writers. I'm sorry, but being glib is just too much fun. Let me expand on what I meant by that. Also, I use Hollywood as a catch-all term, but it really doesn't convey how this amorphous blob works. It's not a centralized thing. It doesn't have a government. There are so many moving parts, so many really professional, competent people working at one end of the spectrum and sycophantic fame fuckers on the other, and everything in between. More on that in another video. But about this writers thing, the issue is that pretty much anyone can produce and anyone can act, but almost no one can write. At least write well. Studios have their favorite approved writers, but they are not perfect hit machines either. So it's kind of, what have you done for me lately sort of thing. And as I said in a previous video, only success counts. You could have written the worst piece of shit script, but if the movie hits $1 billion box office bucks, people will be lined up to give you oral sex for weeks. Writers have a power that people are jealous of. It's mysterious. Producers and actors will grudgingly hire writers to realize their stupid cockamamie ideas and grudgingly pay for them, which they will then go off and endlessly pitch. Of course, studios will entertain a huge star or a successful producer who will pitch a log line like Home Alone, but with Nazis. And bang, it's immediately green-lit. But they'll still have to find some damn pesky hack to add flesh or meat to the bones, and there's not a lot of Patty Chayefskys out there anymore. It's a supply and demand thing. Studios are way more comfortable betting on a star and will pay as little as they can to anyone who can stuff words into their cake hole. Okay, done with that. Netflix's Cowboy Bebop. Yes, it was bad. And yes, it failed. But remember, my Hollywood tenet denizens, bad things can be successful financially and good things can fail. You just don't know. So I'm the Netflix exec in charge of production on this thing, and I fully realize that Cowboy Bebop, as well loved as it is, well, we're going to have to look at how interest can be broadened beyond the hardcore. Also, the anime was only 25 minutes long, and the live-action versions run around 45 minutes. So that means expanding on the original episodes, adding parallel storylines, or both. Padding, in other words. And as with most properties, Netflix was not the first home for Cowboy Bebop. Fox had it, and Keanu Reeves was slated to play Spike Spiegel. Yes, my head exploded hearing that news. As much as I like John Cho, if I could have had Reeves as Spike, that alone could have at least got us to season 2. So, I'm more than happy with the cast: John Cho, Daniela Pineda, and Mustafa Shakir. Seriously, I'm not going to crap all over Pineda at this point. I don't know what outfits anyone is wearing, and I cannot foresee her meltdown video. Honestly, I'm happy with this cast, especially because they are going to be very above-the-line friendly. On the production side, producer Christopher Yost has writing credits on a couple of Thor movies, including Ragnarok. Andre Nemetz, as the showrunner, was the co-writer of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which, that was pretty hip. Then there's script coordinator Naomi Markman. She Her has no writing credits, and She Her Twitter handle is aspiring TV writer, lots on leftism, restorative justice, eco-anarchism, mutual aid, queer lib, raging lesbian She Her. Was she an ESG hire? I don't know. Briefly, ESG is a score companies get for sustainability and implementing social justice bullshit in their companies. Investors are increasingly pressuring companies about their ESG scores. But she's only the script coordinator. What harm can this little rainbow Nazi do? So, where did the show go wrong? This is my 2020 assessment, but I can guarantee you I would have pushed back on the one philosophical change the creative team made, and that was turning the crew of the Cowboy Bebop into a family. At its core, Cowboy Bebop is bounty hunting and mystery solving. That's it. When I saw Spike get all angsty about going after bounties, I immediately knew they fucked this up. The show fell into a classic trap of removing a character's agency and substituting drama. I would not have cared if the writers had created new stories, as long as the core of the anime was intact. Get bounties, kick ass, collect bounty, get back to shit. Keep it snappy, keep it fun. Would I have noticed this in the script? Yes, probably, because Anime Spike was a man of action and simple motivations. But men can't be men anymore. That would be misogynistic or some equivalent man-hating label. The bigger challenge would be production design. 80% of an anime's attraction is its art. The challenge remained, without the kinetic energy of the animation, how to bring this to life. As the exec in charge of production and a huge Bebop fan, this part would have scared me to death. And in this regard, I think the producers had only two choices. Don't copy the laconic pace of dialogue of the anime, and instead increase the speed of the dialogue with more quips and asides, like the classic Thin Man movies of the 50s. The slow pace of the club scenes and the endless yammering of the syndicate bosses were especially painful. So if you can't make the animation faster, then make the dialogue faster. And secondly, make the sets look great, but don't try to copy the visual look of the anime, because it just couldn't be done. In the Netflix series, the endless canted camera angles just didn't work and made the show look campy and cheap. And speaking of cheap, I'm sorry, but the show really did look cheap overall. Firefly looked more expensive than this. As I got the rushes, I would have been very concerned about the lack of energy in the fight scenes. They didn't have the sizzle of a really good Hong Kong kung fu movie. These should have been great set pieces and probably extended to fill out the time. I don't know Chow's martial arts background, but the work in the shows was uninspiring. The show also lost track of Daniela Panetta's character, Faye. I mean, she's a self-centered, conniving bounty hunter who gambles her money away and who Spike seemingly hates. There were moments of that at the beginning, but that it soon fizzled out. And no, it wasn't a problem that she didn't look like the large-breasted anime version of Faye. Should I mention they gave Faye a lesbian scene because, well, you know, they had to. It's part of the new alphabet soup code. It's the rules. If I had gotten the script with this mild lesbian scene, I'd say, sure, go ahead. Who cares? Ironically, the one character who actually had agency was Jet. Well played by Mustafa Shakir, my favorite character in the series. The syndicate subplot didn't work, but that is pure 2020 hindsight. To help fill out 45 minutes, it would have made perfect sense. And you do have to trust the producers at some point. A few final notes. The opening fight sequence of the pilot show was absolutely atrocious and unconvincing. I know they were going for the big action opener, but they didn't pull it off. It made no sense, did not establish Spike and Jet's relationship particularly well, and the rest of the episode, well, it looked really cheap and was maybe the weakest of all the episodes. I will be the first person to acknowledge that pilots are the hardest fucking things to do, but I would have killed that episode and started the series with episode 2. Oh, and I know you're going to want me to comment on the viral Daniela Pineda video where she attacked Cowboy Bebop fans. Yeah, that was probably one of the dumbest things I ever saw. So, yeah, between a weak pilot show and Daniela's implosion, did not bode well for the show. In the end, I think it was a challenge of the extended running time and the mere fact that bringing anime to real life is almost an impossible task. I'm also certain that the crew gave it their best shot. They looked like nice people. They had no intention of pissing on this IP, and I'm also sure the Netflix meddling would have been off the charts frustrating for them. As I've said before, a producer's 2 most hated words to hear are network notes. Till next time, denizens, be seeing you.